Please, just let me go home. My voice cracked as rain hammered the alley around us. 5 men in black suits formed a semicircle, trapping me against the brick wall. Beyond them, under the single flickering streetlight, he stood. Kang Do-hyun. I didn't know his name yet, but I knew the gun in his hand. I knew the body at his feet, still bleeding into the puddles. And I knew, God, I knew, I was supposed to be dead too. You saw nothing. His voice cut through the rain like ice. Come with us or die here. My knees buckled. The wilted chrysanthemums I'd been carrying scattered across the wet pavement. The last bouquet from the shop, the one I was supposed to deliver tomorrow morning. My fingers trembled as I pressed them against the wall behind me, searching for something solid. Something real. I won't tell anyone, I whispered. I swear. I was just taking a shortcut home. I didn't see anything. I didn't. You're lying. He stepped forward. Close enough that I could see his face clearly now, sharp jawline, dark eyes that reflected nothing, black hair plastered to his forehead from the rain. He couldn't have been more than 30. Handsome in a way that made my chest tighten despite the terror flooding my veins. Then his scent hit me. Cedar and smoke. Cold winter mornings. Something darker underneath. Gunpowder and metal and alpha. My body reacted before my mind could catch up. Heat bloomed low in my stomach. My scent glands pulsed at my neck, wrists, releasing something sweet and desperate into the rain-soaked air. Jasmine. Honey. The unmistakable signature of an omega in distress. His pupils dilated. Rubbish. The word came out rough, almost surprised. He turned his head sharply, jaw clenched. Get him in the car. Now. Hands grabbed my arms. I struggled, pointless, pathetic, as they dragged me toward the black sedan idling at the alley's mouth. The chrysanthemums disappeared under their boots. Wait, please, I have work tomorrow. I need to. Shut up. The car door slammed. Leather seats. Tinted windows. The world outside blurred into streaks of neon and rain as we pulled into Seoul's midnight traffic. I sat wedged between 2 guards, their alpha sense overwhelming wrong. My body screamed for me to run, even though there was nowhere to go. Do-hyun sat in the passenger seat. He hadn't looked at me once since we got in the car. 20 minutes later, we stopped. The building stretched into the clouds, glass and steel, the kind of place I'd only ever walked past on my way to the subway. The lobby gleamed. Marble floors. Modern art I didn't understand. A receptionist who didn't even glance up as we crossed to the private elevator. Penthouse, one of the guards said into his phone. Bringing in the witness. The elevator climbed. My ears popped. I watched the floor numbers rise, 40, 50, 60, until we reached the top. The doors opened directly into an apartment. No, not an apartment. A palace made of windows. Floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking all of Seoul. The city sprawling beneath us like a circuit board of light. Minimalist furniture. White walls. Everything cold and perfect and untouched. Sit. I turned. Do-hyun stood in the center of the living room, rain still dripping from his coat. He'd removed his jacket. The gun was gone, probably. I couldn't see it anymore, but I felt its ghost against my ribs. Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe to Starry-Eyed Lovers, and tell me where you're watching from. I didn't sit. My legs wouldn't bend. I asked nicely. He stepped closer. Not threatening, that would have been easier. Just inevitable, like gravity. You're staying until I decide you're not a threat. I'm a flower shop worker. The words tumbled out too fast. I make $12 an hour. I live in a 1-room apartment in Dongdaemun. What threat could I possibly be? You're an omega. His eyes locked on mine. Up close, I could see flecks of amber in the dark brown. Could see the exhaustion carved into the lines around his mouth. The shadow of something that might have been pain if he'd allowed himself to feel it. That alone makes you dangerous. My breath caught. I don't understand. You don't need to. He circled me slowly, deliberate, predatory. Assessing. What's your name? Han Jae-min. How old are you, Han Jae-min? 21. Family? I swallowed. None. Something flickered across his face. Gone before I could name it. Friends? Boyfriend? Anyone who'll notice you're missing. The truth tasted bitter. No. He stopped directly in front of me. Close enough that his scent wrapped around me like smoke, making my head swim. Close enough that I had to tilt my chin up to meet his eyes. I was small, always had been, barely 5'6", but he made me feel microscopic. Then no one will come looking. His voice dropped lower. That should make you more afraid than you already are. But it didn't. Because I caught it, the tremor in his right hand before he curled it into a fist. The way his jaw tightened when my scent sweetened in response to his proximity. The exhaustion that weighed down his shoulders like he'd been holding up the sky for too long. This man was a killer. I'd watched him end a life without hesitation. But right now, he looked like he wanted to run as badly as I did. Guest room. He turned away sharply. Second door on the left. Don't try the windows, they don't open. Don't touch anything. Don't leave the room. For how long? Until I say otherwise. He walked toward what looked like a study, then paused in the doorway. When he spoke again, his back was still turned. There's food in the kitchen if you're hungry. Bathroom is stocked. You'll find clothes in the closet that should fit. I stared at him. Why are you? Because killing you would be wasteful. He disappeared into the study. And I don't waste things. The door clicked shut. I stood frozen in the massive living room for 5 minutes before my legs finally moved. The guest room was larger than my entire apartment. King bed, attached bathroom. A closet full of expensive clothes with the tags still attached. Designer labels I recognized from store windows. Everything neutral, untouched, like a hotel room that had never held a guest. I locked the door from the inside. Not that it mattered, he probably had keys. But the small click of the bolt sliding home made me feel fractionally less like prey. The bed was obscenely soft. I sat on the edge, still wearing my damp clothes, and finally let myself shake. I should have been terrified. I was terrified. But underneath the fear, something else pulsed. Recognition. The same instinct that had made my body respond to his scent in the alley. The same gravitational pull that made me want to follow him into that study and demand to know why he looked so unbearably alone. Fated bonds were supposed to be myths. Stories Omegas told themselves to feel less disposable in a world run by alphas. I'd never believed in them. But I felt it now, singing in my blood, whispering that the most dangerous man in Seoul was somehow meant to be mine. I pressed my hands over my face and tried not to cry. The clock on the nightstand read 2:47 a.m. when I heard footsteps in the hallway. They stopped outside my door. I held my breath, watching the shadow beneath the doorframe. 10 seconds passed. 20. Then the footsteps retreated. I didn't sleep. Dawn broke gray and cold over Seoul. I watched it through the massive window, my forehead pressed against the glass. From this height, the city looked peaceful. Like all the violence and desperation happened somewhere else. A knock at the door made me jump. It's open. My voice came out hoarse. Do-hyun stepped inside carrying a tray. Coffee. Toast. A perfectly arranged plate of fruit. He set it on the dresser without looking at me. Eat. I'm not hungry. I don't care. Eat anyway. He turned to leave, but I spoke before I could stop myself. Why did you kill that man? His hand froze on the doorknob. For a moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then his shoulders dropped, just slightly, like he'd been holding them rigid all night. He betrayed people I'm responsible for protecting. Sold information that got 3 of my men killed. His voice was flat, reciting facts. I gave him a chance to explain. He tried to shoot me instead. So you executed him in an alley? Yes. The simple honesty hit harder than any excuse would have. Does it bother you? I asked quietly. Killing people? Finally, he looked at me. Really looked, like he was trying to solve an equation that didn't make sense. It used to. Something raw flickered in his expression. When I was young, before I learned better. Learned what? That hesitation gets people killed. That mercy is a luxury. That feelings. He cut himself off, jaw tightening. Eat your breakfast, Han Jae-min. I have work to do. He left before I could respond. I picked at the toast. It was good, better than anything I usually ate. The coffee was perfect. Dark, no sugar, exactly how I liked it even though I'd never told him. The realization made my chest ache. He'd noticed. Somehow, in the chaos of last night, he'd paid attention. I spent the morning exploring the penthouse, carefully, quietly, expecting him to appear and order me back to the room. He didn't. The study door stayed closed. Occasionally, I heard his voice, low and commanding, speaking rapid Korean into a phone. The kitchen was immaculate. Professional-grade appliances that looked unused. I opened the refrigerator and found it fully stocked, fresh vegetables, expensive cuts of meat, ingredients I couldn't afford on a month's salary. But everything was organized like a showroom. Nothing half-eaten or expired. Nothing that suggested someone actually lived here. The living room held no photographs. No personal items. Just expensive furniture arranged with mathematical precision and floor-to-ceiling windows that made me feel exposed even though no one could possibly see this high up. This wasn't a home. It was a fortress disguised as luxury. I was standing by the window, watching the city wake up below, when I heard movement behind me. You should be in your room. I didn't turn. You didn't tell me I had to stay there. Do-hyun appeared beside me, close enough that our reflections merged in the glass. He'd changed clothes. Black shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. No gun visible, but I knew it was there somewhere. Most people would be too afraid to wander around. I am afraid. The admission came easily. But I've been afraid my whole life. This is just different. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had lost some of its edge. How long have you worked at the flower shop? 3 years. Since I was 18. You like it? The question surprised me. Sometimes. The flowers are beautiful. The customers are usually kind. My boss pays me under the table, so I don't need proper documentation. Documentation. I finally looked at him. His expression was carefully neutral, but his eyes, those dark, exhausted eyes, held genuine curiosity. I was abandoned at 15. Never finished school. No family register. Officially, Han Jaemin doesn't exist. I smiled without humor. So when you said no one would come looking, you were right. There's no one to look. Something shifted in his face. Not pity. I would have hated pity. Something closer to recognition. I'm sorry. The apology stunned me into silence. For what? I finally managed. That you had to see what you saw last night. That you're here against your will. That. He stopped, muscles tensing like he was physically restraining the words. You didn't deserve to be pulled into this world. And you did. His laugh was bitter and short. I was born into it. Choice never mattered. We stood there, side by side, watching Seoul blur beneath the morning fog. My heart pounded so hard I was sure he could hear it. His scent wrapped around me, still cold, still dangerous, but underneath it all, something achingly lonely. How long are you going to keep me here? I asked softly. I don't know. Are you going to kill me? No. Then what? I don't know, Jaemin. My name sounded different in his mouth. Careful, like something fragile. I should. It would be cleaner. Safer. But He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Because when he finally looked at me, really looked, I saw the truth reflected in his eyes. The same impossible recognition that had flooded my body in the alley. The same gravitational pull that made no sense, and every sense simultaneously. He felt it too. The fated bond we were both supposed to be too smart to believe in. And it terrified him more than any gun ever could. You're burning up. Do-hyun's voice cut through the fog in my head. I blinked, trying to focus, but the world had gone soft around the edges. Heat radiated from my core, spreading through my limbs like wildfire. I'm fine. The lie came out breathless. Just, I need water. I'd woken up drenched in sweat, my body aching with a need I recognized too well. Heat. 3 days early. Impossible timing. My suppressants were back in my apartment, tucked in the bathroom cabinet I'd never see again. I stumbled toward the kitchen, gripping furniture for balance. Every step sent electricity through my nerves. My scent glands throbbed, releasing waves of jasmine so sweet it made my own head spin. Do-hyun appeared in front of me, blocking my path. You need to go back to your room. His voice was strained. Now. I just need. My knees buckled. He caught me before I hit the floor. The moment his hands touched my waist, my body ignited. A gasp tore from my throat. Half pain, half something far more dangerous. His grip tightened. Fuck. When did this start? This morning. Maybe last night. I can't. I pressed my forehead against his chest, seeking something cool, something solid. His heartbeat thundered beneath my ear, too fast, matching mine. I don't have my suppressants. How long does it usually last? 3 days. 4 sometimes. He went rigid. Then very carefully he lifted me. Carried me like I weighed nothing, long strides eating up the distance to the guest room. He set me on the bed with a gentleness that contradicted everything I knew about him. Stay here. He moved toward the door, putting distance between us. I'll call a doctor. Get you medication. Don't leave. The words escaped before I could stop them. Desperate. Humiliating. But true. He froze in the doorway, back turned, shoulders tight with tension. Jaemin. My name sounded like a warning. You don't know what you're asking. I know exactly what I'm asking. I curled onto my side, shaking. I know it's the bond talking. I know you don't, that we barely. A wave of heat crashed through me, stealing my breath. But I can't do this alone. Not here. Not like this. Silence stretched between us. I counted his breaths. 8, 9, 10. Then he closed the door and locked it from the inside. This is a mistake. He crossed back to the bed slowly, every movement controlled. You understand that? I nodded. I understand. If you change your mind, if you say stop, I will. Immediately. No matter what. Okay. He sat on the edge of the bed. Didn't touch me yet. Just watched with those dark, unreadable eyes. Have you done this before? He asked quietly. With an alpha? No. I've never. Shame heated my cheeks beyond what the heat cycle caused. I couldn't afford suppressants most of the time, so I learned to hide during cycles. Lock myself away. Waited out alone. Something flickered across his face. Anger, maybe. Or pain. That must have been excruciating. It was survivable. Survivable isn't the same as bearable. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and brushed sweat-soaked hair from my forehead. His touch sent sparks down my spine. You shouldn't have had to endure that alone. I didn't have a choice. You do now. His hand cupped my cheek, thumb tracing my jawline with a tenderness that made my chest ache worse than the heat. I leaned into the touch, starving for it. Tell me what you need, he murmured. You. I need. I grabbed his wrist, pressing his palm against my racing pulse. Please. He exhaled slowly. Then he moved. Not rushed. Not frantic. Careful. Deliberate. He stretched out beside me on the bed, pulled me against his chest, and just held me. One arm wrapped around my waist, the other cradling my head. His scent enveloped me, cedar and smoke and alpha, and my body responded instantly, the ache intensifying and easing simultaneously. Better. His breath ghosted against my temple. Yes. No. I don't. I buried my face in his neck, seeking his scent gland. It hurts. I know. His hand stroked down my spine. Your body is trying to bond. Fighting it makes it worse. Then don't make me fight it. His hand stilled. Jamin. I tilted my head up, meeting his eyes. I know this is crazy. I know we don't know each other. But I felt it the moment I saw you in that alley. My voice dropped to a whisper. Didn't you? For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then his carefully constructed mask cracked. Yes. The admission sounded like a confession. I felt it. That's why I didn't kill you when I should have. Why I brought you here instead of letting my men handle it. Why I've barely slept because every time I close my eyes, I smell jasmine. His hand moved to my neck, fingers gentle against my scent gland. I shuddered. This terrifies me, he continued, voice raw. I don't do this. I don't feel things. My father made sure of that. But you, his thumb pressed against my pulse point. You walked into my world, and everything I learned to bury came clawing back up. Then let it. I pressed closer, eliminating the space between us. Stop fighting it. Just for tonight. If we do this, if I bond with you, there's no going back. I don't want to go back. Something snapped in his control. I saw it happen, the moment he stopped resisting. His eyes darkened. His grip tightened. And when he kissed me, it wasn't gentle. It was claiming. His mouth moved against mine with desperate precision, swallowing my gasp. One hand tangled in my hair, angling my head exactly where he wanted it. The other slid under my shirt, palm burning against my overheated skin. I melted into him. Open for him. Let him take whatever he needed because I needed it just as badly. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. Last chance, he said against my lips. Tell me to stop. I answered by pulling him back down. Afterward, we lay tangled together in sheets damp with sweat and satisfaction. My body still hummed, the heat cycle far from over, but the desperate edge had dulled. I felt boneless. Safe. Complete in a way I'd never experienced. Do-hyun's fingers traced lazy patterns on my bare shoulder. He hadn't said anything for 10 minutes, just held me like he was memorizing the feel of me. I've never done that before, he finally murmured. I turned to look at him. What? Been gentle with someone. His eyes met mine, vulnerability naked in his expression. Wanted to be gentle. My entire life has been about control. Dominance. Taking what I need without asking. His hand cupped my face. But with you, all I wanted was to make it good. To give you what you needed instead of just taking. My throat tightened. It was good. I didn't have words for what it was. I know. He pressed his forehead against mine. I felt it too. We lay in silence, breathing in sync. Outside the windows, Seoul continued its relentless pace. But in this room, time felt suspended. What happens now? I asked quietly. I don't know. Honest. Always honest. I should let you go. Give you money. Set you up somewhere safe. Pretend this never happened. But I don't want to. His arm tightened around me. I want to keep you here. Lock the doors. Make sure nothing in this world can touch you. He laughed bitterly. Which makes me exactly the kind of monster I always knew I was. You're not a monster. I kill people for a living, Jamin. And you held me through my heat like I was something precious. I placed my hand over his heart. Monsters don't do that. Maybe I'm just a monster who found something worth being gentle for. The words settled between us, heavy with implication. A promise. A warning. A question he was too afraid to ask out loud. Would I stay? Could I stay in this world of violence and luxury, with a man who admitted he wanted to cage me as much as cherish me? Before I could answer, before I even knew what my answer would be, my stomach cramped viciously. I curled into myself with a whimper. It's starting again, Du-hyun said, reading my body's signals. The medication would help, but it would take hours to arrive. It's fine. I can. Another cramp cut me off. No. He pulled me against him, one hand splaying across my lower stomach, radiating warmth. You're not doing this alone anymore. Not while I'm here. Du-hyun, let me take care of you. His lips brushed my temple. Please, let me do this one decent thing. So I did. 3 days blurred together. Heat and relief. Pain and pleasure. Du-hyun barely left the room except to bring food and water. He canceled meetings. Ignored phone calls. The dangerous Mafia boss disappeared, replaced by someone patient and attentive who learned my body like scripture. On the 4th morning, I woke clear-headed. The fever had broken. My body felt wrung out, but finally my own again. Du-hyun was already awake, sitting against the headboard, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. It's over, I said softly. Yes. You should probably let me go now. I should. Neither of us moved. Jaemin. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. If you stay, I can't promise you normal. I can't promise you safe. My world is violent and complicated, and the people in it would use you against me without hesitation. I know. But if you stay... His hand moved to my neck, thumb pressing against the fresh bonding mark he'd left on my scent gland. I will protect you with everything I have. I will give you anything you want. And I will never let you feel alone or abandoned again. My heart clenched. That's a big promise from someone who doesn't do feelings. You changed that. Simple. Devastating. You changed everything. I sat up slowly, the sheet pooling around my waist. My own hand moved to his neck, finding the matching mark I'd left in the throes of heat. What if I want more than protection? I asked. What if I want partnership? Equality? What if I don't want to be the Omega locked in the penthouse while you run an empire? Surprise flickered across his face. Then something that might have been respect. Then we figure it out together. He pulled me into his lap, arms secure around me. I've never done equal partnership. Never thought I was capable of it. But I've never bonded with someone before either, and somehow we managed that. We did. I pressed my palm against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. Du-hyun, I don't have anything. No family, no money, no education. What could I possibly offer you? Everything I've been missing. His forehead pressed against mine. Purpose. Warmth. A reason to be something other than my father's weapon. His voice dropped. You make me want to be human again. Would you risk everything for someone you barely know? Subscribe to Starry-Eyed Lovers, and comment where you're watching from. The words hung between us. I thought about my tiny apartment, my minimum wage job, my invisible existence where no one knew or cared if I lived or died. And I thought about these 3 days, the way he'd held me through pain, the soft words in Korean he'd whispered when he thought I was sleeping, the vulnerability in his eyes when he admitted he'd never been gentle before. Okay, I said. Okay, I'll stay, but on one condition. His eyebrows rose. You're negotiating with me? You said partnership. So yes. I met his eyes steadily. I want to know everything. Your world, your business, the danger I'm walking into. No secrets. No protecting me by keeping me ignorant. For a moment, I thought he'd refuse. Then slowly, a genuine smile crossed his face, the first real smile I'd seen from him. Deal. He kissed me, soft and sweet and full of promise. When he pulled back, his expression had shifted to something more serious. There's something you should know. About what happened between us. My stomach dropped. What? Bonding during heat, especially a first heat with an alpha, has a high probability of conception. His hand moved to my stomach, resting there gently. We should get you tested, just to be sure. The implication hit me like a train. Pregnant. I could be pregnant right now. Would you? I couldn't finish the question. Want it? He said it for me. Yes. Unequivocally yes. But what matters is what you want. Your choice. Always your choice. I stared at him. This man who killed without hesitation. Who'd kidnapped me. Who admitted he wanted to cage me. But who also held me like I was precious. Who offered me choice when he could have just taken. Who looked at me like I was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. Let's find out first, I said finally. Then we'll decide together. Together. He tested the word like it was foreign. Then he smiled again. I like that. He stood, pulling me with him, and for the first time in 4 days, I left the bedroom. The penthouse felt different in daylight. Less like a prison. More like a possibility. Do-hyun made breakfast, burnt eggs and slightly charred toast that he presented with more pride than the meal deserved. I ate every bite, watching him move around the kitchen with endearing incompetence. You're terrible at this, I observed. I've had private chefs my entire life. This is my first time actually cooking. It shows. He pointed the spatula at me. You're supposed to be grateful, not critical. I can be both. His laugh was surprised and genuine. It transformed his face, made him look younger. Less like the frost wolf, and more like just Do-hyun. I could get used to this. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like coming home. My phone, which had been dead for days, suddenly buzzed on the counter. Do-hyun had charged it at some point. Messages flooded in. 12 missed calls from my boss. Texts asking where I was. If I was okay. If I was coming back. Reality crashed back in. I need to quit my job, I said quietly. Officially. My boss was kind to me. She deserves better than me just disappearing. Do-hyun nodded. I'll have someone collect your things from your apartment. Anything you want to keep. Not really. I didn't have much. I looked down at the phone. Can I go see her? Just to say goodbye properly. His jaw tightened. It's not safe. Please. Just for an hour. I'll take guards if you want. But I can't just vanish from her life without explanation. He studied me for a long moment. Then sighed. Fine. But I'm coming with you. Deal. We left an hour later. Do-hyun insisted I wear new clothes, designer pieces from the closet that fit perfectly. He'd apparently had my size the entire time. 2 guards followed at a distance as we walked into the small flower shop in Dongdaemun. Mrs. Kim looked up from the counter, relief washing over her face. Jaemin, thank God. I was so worried. She stopped, eyes landing on Do-hyun. Her expression shifted, recognition and fear flickering simultaneously. Oh, I came to say goodbye, I said softly. And thank you. For everything. She came around the counter slowly, eyes never leaving Do-hyun. Is this your choice? I glanced at him. He stood silent, letting me handle this my way. Yes, I said. It's my choice. She looked between us, then sighed. You be careful, Jaemin, men like him. She shook her head. Just be careful. I will. She hugged me quickly, pressed an envelope into my hand. Your last paycheck. Plus a little extra. Mrs. Kim. Take it. Buy yourself something nice. She pulled back, eyes shining. You were a good worker. The flowers always looked prettier when you arranged them. I thanked her, throat tight, and we left. On the walk back to the car, Do-hyun was quiet. She recognized you, I said. Most people in Seoul do. At least, most people who pay attention to certain things. She was afraid for me. She should be. He stopped, turning to face me fully. Jaemin, I need you to understand. My world isn't kind. The people in it will see you as a weakness. As leverage. If they find out we're bonded, then we'll deal with it. I took his hand. Together. Remember? He stared at our joined hands like they were a miracle. Yeah, he said finally. Together. We drove back to the penthouse in comfortable silence. My hand stayed in his the entire way. When we arrived, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, expression darkening. I have to take this. He stepped away, voice dropping to cold business tones. I watched him shift back into the frost wolf, posture straightening, face shuddering, every trace of the gentle man from this morning disappearing. This was my future. This duality. This danger. And somehow, I wasn't afraid anymore. He ended the call, came back to me. I have a meeting tonight. Business. It'll run late. Okay. You'll stay here? Lock the doors. Don't answer for anyone except my guards. Yes. He kissed my forehead. I'll be back by midnight. If anything feels wrong, anything at all, you call this number. He pressed a card into my hand. Direct line to my second in command. He'll send people immediately. Do-hyun. Promise me. I promise. He left reluctantly, looking back twice. I spent the evening exploring the penthouse properly. Found books in languages I couldn't read. Art worth more than I'd make in a lifetime. A home gym. An office with multiple locks. And in his bedroom, which I'd avoided until now, I found something that made my chest tighten. A photo. Small, tucked in a drawer. A young Do-hyun, maybe 8 years old, smiling at the camera. A woman's hand rested on his shoulder, cut off at the frame's edge. His mother, maybe. The boy in the photo looked nothing like the man I'd bonded with. His eyes were bright. Unguarded. Full of hope. What had happened to put out that light? I was still holding the photo when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then I opened it. The message was simple. Devastating. Ask him about his father's plan for rare Omega bloodlines. Ask him why he really kept you alive. Below it, a photo of me, leaving the flower shop. 3 months ago, long before the night in the alley. Explain this. I thrust my phone toward Doohyun the moment he walked through the door. Midnight. He'd promised midnight, and here he was, shedding his coat, guard lowering at the sight of me. Until he saw the screen. His face went carefully blank. The frost wolf snapping back into place. Where did you get this? Does it matter? My voice shook. You've been watching me. For months. That night in the alley wasn't random, was it? You knew exactly who I was. What I was. He set his coat down slowly. Deliberately. Buying time. Jamin, don't. I stepped back when he moved closer. Don't lie to me. We made a deal. No secrets. So tell me the truth. Why did you really keep me alive? The silence stretched. Outside the windows, Seoul glittered, oblivious to my world cracking open. My father, he finally said. He has people who track rare omega bloodlines. Genetic markers that make certain omegas more valuable for. He stopped, jaw clenching. For what? Breeding. The word landed like a slap. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly cold despite the heated apartment. 3 months ago, you appeared on his radar. Rare fertility gene. No family. No protection. Perfect target. Doohyun's voice was flat, reciting facts like they didn't gut him. He wanted you acquired. Tested. If you were viable, you'd be matched with an alpha of his choosing. And you volunteered? No. His eyes met mine, raw with something that looked like pain. I refused. Told him it was beneath us. That we weren't in the business of trafficking omegas. But you still had me followed. Yes. He took a step closer. I didn't back away this time. Because I knew if I didn't keep tabs on you, someone else would. Someone who'd follow my father's orders without question. So that night, the alley was supposed to be routine surveillance. Making sure you got home safe. Then the deal went wrong and you, his hand lifted like he wanted to touch me, then fell. You saw me. Smelled me. And I felt the bond snap into place, and everything I'd been trying to prevent became inevitable. I stared at him. You could have told me. Before we bonded. Before. Would you have believed me? Would you have trusted that I was trying to protect you, not trap you? His voice roughened. I'm a monster, Jamin. You said I wasn't, but you were wrong. I kept you in the dark because I was terrified you'd run if you knew the truth. I deserved the choice. I know. He closed the distance between us, stopping just within reach. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. But if I'd let you go that night, my father would have found you within a week. And what he would have done, his hands curled into fists. I couldn't let that happen. So you trapped me instead. I gave you a cage with better bars. Bitter. Honest. I won't pretend it was noble. I wanted you. The bond wanted you. And I convinced myself keeping you here was protection when really, I was just too selfish to let you go. My throat burned. Who sent the message? I don't know. But I'll find out. He pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen. I'm having my people trace it now. If someone's been watching you, watching us, they're either working for my father or they're trying to destabilize me. Which is worse? Both are bad. He pocketed his phone, attention returning fully to me. Jamin, I need you to understand something. My world doesn't forgive weakness. If they know we're bonded, they'll use you. If they know I care about you, his voice cracked slightly, they'll hurt you to hurt me. Then why bond with me at all? Why not just keep your distance? Because I couldn't. Simple. Devastating. I tried. For 3 months, I watched you from a distance, told myself I was just making sure you were safe. But every time I saw you smile at customers in that flower shop, every time you walked home alone in the rain, I wanted. He stopped, chest rising with a sharp breath. I wanted things I'd never let myself want before. Like what? Someone to come home to. Someone who'd look at me like I was human instead of a weapon. Someone who'd make me want to be better than what my father made me. His hand finally touched my cheek, tentative. I wanted you. I should have pulled away. Should have been angrier. Should have demanded he take me somewhere safe and leave me alone. Instead, I leaned into his touch. I hate that you lied. I know. I hate that you've been watching me. That this whole thing might have been orchestrated. I know. But I don't think, my voice wavered. I don't think the bond was fake. Was it? What we felt in the alley. What happened during my heat. That was real. His thumb traced my cheekbone. It was the most real thing in my life. The bond doesn't lie, Jamin. You can manipulate circumstances, but you can't fake recognition at a soul level. How do I know you're telling the truth now? You don't. He pulled his hand back, giving me space. I've given you every reason not to trust me. All I can do is promise that from this moment forward, no more secrets. No more protection through ignorance. You want to know about my world? I'll tell you. You want to understand the danger? I'll show you. His eyes held mine. And if you want to leave, I'll let you go. I'll set you up somewhere my father can't reach. Give you enough money to disappear. You'll never have to see me again. The offer hung between us. Genuine. Terrifying in its sincerity. And if I stay, then I'll spend the rest of my life proving you didn't make a mistake. I studied his face. The exhaustion carved into his features. The vulnerability he was allowing me to see, despite everything in his training screaming to hide it. I need to think. He nodded. Started to turn away. Do-hyun. He stopped. Where's your mother? His shoulders tensed. For a moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, quietly. Dead. When I was 9, my father said she made me soft. That I cried too much, clung to her too much. So his voice went flat. Removed the problem. Horror washed through me. He killed her. He had someone else do it. Made it look like an accident. Then he spent the next 2 decades training the weakness out of me. Do-hyun's laugh was hollow. Until you walked into my life and undid everything in a single night. I crossed to him. Wrapped my arms around him from behind. Pressed my forehead against his back. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry for me. I'm the villain in this story. No. I held him tighter. You're the villain your father created. But you're also the man who held me through my heat. Who cooked me terrible breakfast. Who looks at me like my voice broke. Like I matter. He turned in my arms, pulling me close. You do matter. More than anything. We stood like that for a long time. 2 broken people holding each other in a penthouse above a city that would destroy us both if it could. Finally, I pulled back enough to meet his eyes. I need to get tested. For pregnancy. His expression shifted, hope and fear warring. Now. Tomorrow. But I need to know. I took his hand, placed it on my stomach. If I'm carrying your child, everything changes. I can't make decisions about leaving or staying without knowing. Whatever the result, I meant what I said. Your choice. Always. I know. I did know. Despite everything, I believed him. But I also know you want this. I could see it during my heat. The way you touched my stomach. The way you talked about the future like it was something possible. I've never wanted anything as much as I want a family with you. Raw honesty. But not if it traps you. Not if it's another cage. I kissed him. Soft. Brief. A promise or a goodbye, I wasn't sure yet. Let's find out first. Then we decide. The doctor came to the penthouse at dawn. A woman in her 50s, professional and discreet, who asked no questions about why a mafia boss was hovering anxiously while she drew my blood. Results in 2 hours, she said, packing her kit. I'll call. Those 2 hours were the longest of my life. Do-hyun made breakfast again. Less burnt this time, maybe because he was too nervous to focus on anything else. We ate in silence, both pretending not to watch the clock. When his phone finally rang, he nearly dropped it. Dr. Yoon. He put it on speaker, hand finding mine. Go ahead. Congratulations, Mr. Kong. The test is positive. Based on hormone levels, I'd estimate conception occurred 4 to 5 days ago. Given the circumstances, she paused delicately, it's highly likely we're looking at multiples. The room tilted. I gripped Do-hyun's hand harder. Multiples, he repeated. How many? Too early to determine. But omega pregnancies during bonding heat, especially first bonds, often result in twins or triplets. I'd recommend an ultrasound in 3 weeks for confirmation. Thank you, Dr. Yoon. He ended the call. We sat frozen, hands clasped, both processing. Jaemin. I'm pregnant. The words felt surreal. With possibly more than one baby. Yes. Your babies. Yes. His voice was rough with emotion. But only if I meant what I said. Your choice. If you want. I want to keep them. The words came out before I fully thought them through. But the moment I said them, I knew they were true. You're sure? He turned to face me fully. You understand what this means? You'll be tied to me. To my world. You'll be a target for anyone wanting to hurt me. I know. I placed my free hand over my stomach. Flat now, but maybe not for long. I grew up alone. Abandoned. I swore if I ever had a family, I'd never let them feel that way. Never let them wonder if they were wanted. I met his eyes. So yes, I'm sure. Have you ever made a choice that changed everything? Comment below, and tell us where you're watching from. Something broke in his expression. Joy. Terror. Wonder. He pulled me into his lap, arms tight around me, face buried in my neck. Thank you. Whispered against my skin. Thank you. I held him back, feeling his heartbeat race against my chest. We're really doing this. We're really doing this. He pulled back, hands framing my face. I promise you, I will protect you. Both of you. All of you, if it's multiples. Nothing will touch you. No one will hurt you. I'll dismantle my father's entire empire before I let him anywhere near our family. Our family. I tested the words. They felt right. Impossible and right. Do Hyun, I need you to promise me something else. Anything. Don't shut me out. Don't try to protect me by keeping me ignorant. If we're doing this, if we're bringing children into your world, I need to understand it. All of it. He hesitated, then nodded. Okay, starting now. No more secrets. Tell me about your father. His jaw tightened, but he didn't deflect. Kong Jun-sik, patriarch of the Kong Syndicate. Ruthless, cunning, completely devoid of empathy. He built his empire by being willing to do things other families considered beneath them. He took a breath, including the thing I told you about last night, the bloodline tracking. He's obsessed with creating perfect Mafia heirs. Strong alphas bred from rare omegas. And when he finds out about me, about the pregnancy, he'll try to take control. Claim the children as syndicate property. You as a breeding asset. Do-hyun's hands tightened on me, which is why we need to move fast. I'm calling a syndicate meeting for tomorrow night. I'm going to claim leadership. Force a vote. Can you win? I don't know. I have support, more than my father knows. But it'll be close. He met my eyes. If I lose, we run. Tonight. I have resources he doesn't know about. We disappear. And if you win, then you become the legitimate partner of the syndicate leader. Protected by our laws. Untouchable. His voice hardened. And my father becomes the one who needs to run. I should have been terrified. Maybe I was. But underneath the fear, something else burned. Hope. When do we start? A slow smile crossed his face, fierce and proud. Right now. He stood, pulling me with him. And for the first time since bonding, I felt like his equal. Not the Omega he'd trapped. Not the weakness he needed to protect. His partner. His choice. His future. And somewhere deep inside me, already dividing and growing, our children. The family neither of us thought we'd ever have. The family we'd burn the world to protect. Do-hyun's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, expression darkening. What? Message from my second-in-command. My father just called an emergency syndicate meeting. He looked up, eyes hard. For tonight. Someone told him about you. How? I don't know. But it means we're out of time. He pulled me closer, voice dropping. Jaemin, everything is about to get very dangerous very fast. If you want to run, tell me now. I'll get you out. Somewhere safe. Somewhere he can't reach. I thought about the flower shop. My tiny apartment. My invisible life. Then I thought about Do-hyun holding me through my heat. Whispering promises in the dark. Looking at me like I was his salvation. No running. I squeezed his hand. We faced this together. His eyes searched mine. Then he nodded. Together. But even as he said it, I saw the fear underneath. The certainty that no matter how this ended, someone was going to bleed. I just prayed it wouldn't be us. You brought him here? Kong Jun-sik's voice cut through the syndicate hall like a blade. 20 elders sat around the massive table, all eyes turning to where I stood beside Do-hyun. I fought the urge to step behind him, to hide from the weight of their stares. Do-hyun's hand found mine. Steady. Grounding. I brought my bonded partner, he corrected, voice cold and clear. As is my right. Jun-sik stood at the head of the table, impeccably dressed, silver hair swept back. He looked nothing like Do-hyun, too refined, too controlled, empty behind the eyes. He smiled, and it was worse than a threat. You're right. He laughed softly. You think bonding with an unauthorized Omega gives you rights? You think spreading your seed into a breeding asset makes you anything other than a fool? I felt Do-hyun tense beside me. His scent sharpened, aggressive, protective. Careful, father. That's my partner you're speaking about. Partner. Jun-sik walked around the table slowly, assessing me like livestock. Tell me, boy, do you know what you're carrying? Do you understand the genetic value of what's growing inside you? My hand moved instinctively to my stomach. Do-hyun shifted, placing himself partially between us. He's not carrying anything yet, Do-hyun said evenly. And even if he were, that's none of your concern. Everything in this family is my concern. Jun-sik stopped 5 feet away. Especially when my son steals syndicate property. He's not property. Isn't he? Jun-sik's eyes locked on mine. Abandoned at 15. No family register. Genetically rare. I had him marked for acquisition 3 months ago. The moment you bonded with him without permission, you stole what was mine. The room went silent. I felt every eye on me, calculating my worth like the flowers I used to arrange. Valuable only for what could be extracted. I'm not anyone's property. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Not yours. Not even his. I squeezed Do-hyun's hand. I'm here by choice. Jun-sik smiled wider. Choice? How charming. Tell me, did my son explain that he'd been watching you for months before that convenient night in the alley? Did he mention that every moment of your courtship was orchestrated? He told me everything. Not quite true, but close enough. And I chose to stay anyway. Then you're as much a fool as he is. Jun-sik turned to the assembled elders. I call for an immediate vote. My son has violated syndicate protocol by bonding without approval. The Omega and any potential offspring belong to the family, not to one individual. I move that they be placed under syndicate control, with breeding rights distributed according to bloodline value. Horror washed through me. Breeding rights. Like I was a horse. You can't, I started. Second, one of the elders, a man with scarred hands, raised his hand. Third, another. Do-hyun released my hand and stepped forward. I challenge that motion. And I challenge your leadership, Father. Right here. Right now. The room erupted. Voices overlapping, some shocked, some excited. Jun-sik held up a hand, and silence fell instantly. You challenge me? His voice was soft. Dangerous. On what grounds? On the grounds that you've corrupted everything this syndicate stood for. That you've turned us into traffickers and slavers. That you've violated our code repeatedly for personal gain. Do-hyun pulled a tablet from his jacket, tossed it on the table. 3 years of evidence. Embezzlement. Unauthorized hits. Deals with organizations we swore never to work with. All documented. Jun-sik didn't even glance at the tablet. Bold, but ultimately pointless. You think these men will follow you? A boy who's gone soft over an Omega? Who abandoned duty for sentiment? I think they'll follow strength. And I think they're tired of your cruelty. Do-hyun's voice hardened. I call for a vote. Leadership challenge. Traditional rules. If I win, I take control of the syndicate and you're exiled. If you win, he stopped, jaw clenching. If I win, I take the Omega. And whatever he's carrying becomes syndicate property. You'll watch me breed him properly. Jun-sik's smile was vicious. Those are my terms. My stomach turned. Do-hyun's scent spiked with rage. Agreed, he said quietly. Too quietly. Before I could protest, Jun-sik pulled a gun. The world slowed. I saw his arm raise. Saw the barrel point not at Do-hyun but at me. Saw his finger tighten on the trigger. If I can't have him. Do-hyun moved. The gunshot was deafening in the closed space. Do-hyun's body slammed into mine, driving us both to the floor. Heat bloomed across my shoulder, pain, sharp and immediate. But when I looked up, Do-hyun was standing over me, face twisted in fury. The bullet had grazed him. Blood seeped through his shirt at the shoulder, but he was upright. Moving. He'd taken the shot meant for me. You tried to kill him. Do-hyun's voice was empty of everything except cold certainty. In front of the entire syndicate. You just violated every law we have. Jun-sik lowered the gun slowly. Too late, he realized his mistake. Around the table, elders were standing, faces hard with judgment. He's my son. I was teaching him a lesson about. You aimed at an unarmed Omega. Elder Kim, the scarred man who'd seconded Jun-sik's motion, spoke with disgust. Whatever else he is, he's bonded to your son. That makes him family by our laws. You just tried to murder family. I vote for the son. Elder Park stood. Leadership passes to Kong Do-hyun. Second, Elder Kim. Third, another voice. One by one they stood. One by one they voted. Not because they loved Do-hyun. Not because they believed in reform. But because Jun-sik had shown weakness. Had acted out of emotion instead of calculation. Had broken the code in front of everyone. In the syndicate, weakness was death. The final count was 15-5. Do-hyun had won. Jun-sik stared at his son with something that might have been pride if it hadn't been so twisted with hatred. You think you've won. But you're weak now. Soft. That Omega will destroy you from the inside. He turned to me, gun still in hand. And when he does, I'll be waiting. You're exiled. Do-hyun's voice was absolute. Effective immediately. You have 24 hours to leave Seoul. If you're found within city limits after that, the kill order is open to any syndicate member. You'd kill your own father? You killed my mother. Why would I show you more mercy than you showed her? The words hung in the air, brutal and final. Jun-sik's mask finally cracked, revealing the rage beneath. You'll regret this. Both of you. He walked out. 2 guards followed, the only one still loyal. The door slammed behind them. I was still on the floor, shoulder throbbing, watching Do-hyun command the room with a certainty I'd never seen before. This wasn't the man who made me burnt breakfast. This was the leader his father had tried to create, strong, ruthless, absolute. But when he turned to me, When he knelt beside me and his hands trembled as they checked my shoulder, I saw the other side too. You're hurt. It's just a graze. You took most of it. I should have moved faster. I should have. His voice cracked. Jamin, I almost lost you. But you didn't. I touched his face, making him look at me. We're okay. We're both okay. Around us, elders were filing out, giving us space. Elder Kim paused at the door. Your first meeting as patriarch is in 3 days. Be ready. They'll test you. He glanced at me. And protect that one. If what Jun-sik said is true about his genetics, others will try what he couldn't finish. Then we were alone in the syndicate hall. Just us and the blood on the floor and the weight of what had just happened. Do-hyun helped me stand. His shoulder was bleeding worse than mine, but he wouldn't let me look at it until we reached the car. The drive back to the penthouse was silent. His hand never left mine. Dr. Yoon arrived within an hour. She cleaned and bandaged both our wounds without comment, then insisted on checking for pregnancy complications. Stress isn't ideal, but the embryo is still very early. Everything looks normal. She packed her kit, expression professional but kind. Try to avoid gunfights for the next 8 months, After she left, Do-hyun finally let himself collapse onto the couch. I sat beside him, both of us wrapped in bandages and exhaustion. I'm patriarch now. He said it like he didn't quite believe it. I actually did it. You did. My father's alive. Exiled, but alive. He'll come back. He'll try. Then we'll handle it. I leaned against his good shoulder. Together. Remember? He pulled me closer, careful of our injuries. I could have lost you today. Lost both of you if, his voice roughened. I've never been that afraid in my life. But you moved. You took the bullet. I'd take 100 bullets for you. The words settled between us, heavy with truth. I tilted my head up, meeting his eyes. Do-hyun, I need to tell you something. What? I was terrified today. Watching your father point that gun, realizing he'd actually kill me just to hurt you. Understanding that this. I gestured vaguely at the penthouse, the life we were building. This will always be dangerous. Always be a fight. His expression shuddered. If you want to leave. I'm not finished. I took his hand, placed it on my stomach. I was terrified, but I wasn't sorry, because in that moment I realized something. I'd rather fight beside you than be safe anywhere else. His breath caught. Jamin, I love you. The words came easily, naturally. I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But I love you. The man who makes terrible breakfast and watches over me while I sleep and took a bullet without hesitation. I love all of it. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then his eyes closed, like the words hurt as much as they healed. I don't deserve you. Probably not. I smiled. But you're stuck with me anyway. He kissed me. Gentle despite the violence of the day. Sweet despite the blood we'd both shed. When he pulled back, his eyes were wet. I love you too. I didn't think I was capable of it. Didn't think my father left me enough humanity for it. But then you walked into my life and, he pressed his forehead to mine. You make me want to be better. Do better. Build something that isn't soaked in blood. Can you? Really reform the syndicate? I don't know. But I'll try. For you. For. His hand spread across my stomach. For them. We sat like that for a long time, holding each other, letting the reality of what we'd survived sink in. Finally, I spoke again. What happens now? Now. He pulled back, meeting my eyes. Now we build a life. I reform what I can. Protect you with everything I have. Wait for our children to arrive. His smile was small but genuine. And maybe I learned to actually cook something edible. I laughed despite everything. That last one might be the hardest. Probably. He stood, pulling me with him. Come on. You need rest. We both do. He led me to the bedroom. Our bedroom now, not just his. As we settled under the covers, wrapped in each other despite our bandages, I felt something I'd never expected to feel again. Safe. Not because the danger was gone. My shoulder throbbed, reminding me it wasn't. Jun-sik was still out there. Other threats would emerge. But I was safe because I wasn't alone anymore. Have you ever found home in the most unexpected place? Share your story in the comments, and tell us where you're watching from. Jamin. Do-hyun's voice was drowsy in the darkness. Yeah. Thank you for choosing me. For choosing us. I pressed closer, listening to his heartbeat. Thank you for giving me something worth choosing. Sleep came easier than it should have. Maybe because we'd survived the worst. Maybe because we were too exhausted to worry about tomorrow. Or maybe because for the first time in both our lives, we had something worth fighting for. Each other. Our future. Our family. And in the morning, we'd start building it, one imperfect, dangerous, beautiful day at a time.